Hi guys, welcome back to a new video. Today is the final video of my Birbfest challenge series. I finally made it through all the prompts. January is officially over now, and honestly it felt like a very long month. And this challenge really was a challenge in itself. Not because I didn't enjoy it, but because it wasn't always easy to stay consistent while also wanting to draw other things. There were definitely days where I felt like doing something completely different, but pushing through taught me a lot. I learned more about time management, about simplifying my process, and about how you can still get good results without overworking a piece. Most importantly, this challenge helped me reconnect with making art in a more playful, low-pressure way. Over the past month, I was mostly focused on bigger, more finished pieces, and I really wanted to get back into drawing more regularly. Birbfest helped me get back into a routine and into that creative flow again. For the last prompts, I decided to slow down a bit and put more time and effort into the drawings. While many of the earlier prompts were more loose and sketch-like, I wanted these final pages to feel more finished and intentional. And with this first prompt here, I immediately knew I had to pull out my Polychromos colored pencils, which are some of my absolute favorite pencils to work with. I took my time building up the colors layer after layer and went for a more realistic look. Working like this instantly gave me the right motivation again, because it felt very close to the kind of work I truly enjoy making, and I absolutely love how this page turned out.
Sunshine. You want my sunshine. You want my sunshine. You want my sunshine.
For the next bird, I chose a more dynamic pose, since the bird itself is fairly simple with very basic colors, and I wanted to go a bit more detailed with these final prompts. The pose felt absolutely perfect for this one. I drew the outlines using a brown Polychromos pencil. Through this challenge, I rediscovered how much I enjoy using colored pencils for outlines instead of inking. I used to do this a lot years ago, and now that I've started integrating it into my work again, I can definitely see myself doing more pieces like this outside of the challenge as well. It gives the artwork a completely different feeling, much softer and more dreamy. To paint the bird, I used my Kuretake paints, since I had the perfect colors for it in that palette. My favorite part of the whole process was definitely painting the black pattern lines in the wings. That was incredibly satisfying to work on. Looking back, I also realized that for Birbfest this year I chose much more complex poses than in previous years, simply because I trust myself more now. Poses like this used to intimidate me a lot, which is why in past years I mostly stuck to birds sitting on branches or very simple flying poses, where once you learn how to simplify these shapes, they become way less scary than you expect. Choosing a bigger sketchbook this year was also a good decision. I usually work in A5, and space can get very limiting, especially with poses that have wide open wings. This time I worked in my Ohuhu mixed media sketchbook, and having that extra room gave me so much more freedom when it came to composition. For this bird, I used my Faber-Castell watercolor pencil. Since the bird is very colorful, I needed a medium with a strong, vibrant palette, and the Albrecht Dürer pencils are perfect for that, especially once you activate them with water. They are also a really quick medium to work with. The whole process is much faster compared to regular colored pencils, which made it ideal for this prompt. Honestly, I had the most fun during this challenge with birds like this, the really colorful ones. Being able to play with lots of different colors just feels way more exciting to me. With some of the simpler birds, I noticed that I subconsciously rushed through them, but with these vibrant ones, I naturally wanted to spend more time and really enjoy the process. Before the challenge started, I already had the idea to do one bird with graphite pencils, but up until this point I hadn't found a prompt that really felt right for it until day 28. This little penguin just was perfect for that medium, so I grabbed my Staedtler pencils along with the Mars Lumograph black matte pencils and started building up the graphite on paper. For blending, I just used things I had lying around at home like tissues or Q-tips. I never use blending stumps. I don't really care too much about messy edges at this stage because I go back in with an eraser afterwards to clean everything up. But I didn't want this to be just a regular pencil drawing. One thing I love doing with graphite is adding a very light watercolor wash on top. It seals the drawing so the graphite doesn't smudge anymore, but it also gives it that vintage look, almost like an old postcard or a stamp. I've actually used this technique in a few other videos on my channel. For example, in my summer sketchbook ideas video, I link it up here for you guys, so if you want to see how I use this method to create vintage style illustrations, and you can see how I incorporate this technique in my drawings. The next bird was one I was really looking forward to, mainly because it's so colorful, and since I hadn't inked anything for a while at this point, it felt like the perfect moment to bring out my Pigma Microns again and just have some fun with them. I kept the line work very fine and simple. I initially thought about going over the outer lines with a thicker pen, but in the end I decided to leave them as they were, keeping everything light and subtle. For this bird I really felt like using my fancy Schmincke Horadam watercolors. The colors in the palette were just perfect for this prompt, and honestly these paints had been sitting unused in a drawer for way too long. Challenges like this are always great for digging out materials you already own and actually use them. Even though I had my usual go-to supplies throughout this month, I also ended up reaching for a lot of tools I don't normally use that much, and many of them inspired ideas for art outside of this challenge. Things like Ecoline Markers, which I definitely want to use more, or even something as simple as the Pigma Micron brush pen, which will make a little guest appearance in this video as well. Overall, I'm really happy with how this illustration for day 29 turned out. As I mentioned before, the Pigma Micron brush pen makes a little appearance in this video, and here it is. Since this bird is quite simple, I wanted to take the opportunity to get some extra practice with this pen. I really like how it turned out, and it definitely makes me want to get even better at using it. For coloring, I used Ecoline Markers. I kept it pretty easy, added a bit of layering on the wings, but nothing too crazy. I have to admit, by this point in the challenge, I was actually kind of glad it was coming to an end, mostly because I was excited to get back to my other art projects. Still, it's definitely good to step out of your comfort zone every once in a while. For the last bird, I had actually planned to do a big detailed mixed media piece, but as I mentioned before, I was feeling pretty burnt out and didn't have that much time. There was a lot of work drawing, editing, and putting all the videos together. I'm really proud of myself for making it through the entire challenge, but I had to change my plan for prompt 31. Time just didn't allow for a big detailed piece, so I started with a light pink underpainting and then added simple shapes and colors with watercolors, very loose. After that, I added the outlines with a brush pen. It's much simpler than I originally imagined, but I actually like it, and I'm glad I went for the easier route. Realistically, it's impossible to get a big detailed painting done in just 2 hours. It's a good reminder that in art you don't always have to make everything super complicated. Even though I'm a bit burnt out now, I'm so much more excited for my own ideas and projects, and you can expect lots of new content coming soon. I hope you enjoyed this little series. I hope you learned a lot from my videos and you got inspired to get your sketchbooks out and draw more. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!
sunshine. You want my sunshine. You want my sunshine. You want my sunshine.